There were lots of people that said the Angels couldn't stand a chance against the Braves. And that's why, according to Chris Berman, you play the game. The Angels got game one against the Atlanta Braves on Monday night. We're excited. I know you're excited. How'd they do it? We're going to tell you. It's time to get locked on with Mike and Jon, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and click that bell to be notified every time a new episode drops. And today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
Mike, everybody knows that you and I are huge fans of this team, and that's why on this trade deadline day, hopefully you're joining us before the 3 p.m. West Coast deadline time. We are going to be jumping on Bleacher Report. You can jump into the app. You can jump to the website, and you can watch us live stream talking about everything that the Angels have done since the deadline. That's going to be at 4:30 Pacific time. Mike and I will be there. Jump in, get in the comments with us. We'd love to have our Locked On Everydayers show up and show out and show Bleacher Report that we got the best Angels talk around, baby. So that's, again, 4:30 Pacific time on BleacherReport.com or in the Bleacher Report app. Really looking forward to that. See if we make any more moves. Maybe we'll even have one during the show like last week. Remember that? That was fun.
That was fun.
Hey, Mike, we're talking about this Brave series. We're going to get into the Game 1 recap here in just a minute. But on today's show, because of that trade deadline, if the Angels make another move, who should it be? What should it be for? What should they do? We'll talk about that. And we got a stat that explains why the Angels have struggled so much with runners in scoring position. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about this big win over the Braves. It was 4-1. Mike, before I kick it to you, I just want to do a little dedication here. And I'm going to say, every time the Angels have a good outing, there's always a well, or there's always a well, but. And so in honor of the passing of Pee Wee Herman, Mike, we're going to talk about that big but. Because it doesn't exist in this game. The Angels defeated the best team in baseball with their rookie starting pitcher going 5 innings of 1-run ball, and then they shut it down with our bullpen guys. Mike, all the new additions, I listened to some new addition, by the way, all the new additions were fantastic last night, but set the stage for us because, again, we're talking about that big but. So talk to me about the Braves and who they are coming into this game on Monday night.
Well, here's a stat for you, Johnny. The Braves in the first inning have scored the most runs of any team in any inning. They had the most home runs of any team in any inning, most hits, and they had the best run differential of any other team in any inning. And so with all of those stats to start with, Johnny, it was the Halos who scored first. Luis Rengifo, who's just killing it, batting leadoff. I'm not sure if I'm a fan, but right now I'm a fan because
whatever works.
I want it to work, right? He hits his 10th home run and he just crushed a fastball. And right now he looks like he belongs in that leadoff spot, doesn't he?
Yeah. You know what? He's done great. Taking more walks this year, Mike.
He has. Yeah.
And
good eye.
There was a moment where he could have stretched something to a double, but Acuna picked up the ball and he even gave Rengifo a little wave.
Yes.
Go ahead. And the funny thing about that is Rengifo smiled and he laughed and he stayed at first. But that gave Shohei Ohtani the opportunity to actually hit in this one.
Yeah.
And hit he did. He was hitting rockets in this one. Outside of the intentional walk he did get at one point during the game. But yeah, I got to give it up to Rengifo. He's having a great month of July. Like we were talking about, Mike, does he just need the playing time to stay hot? Or is he just a guy who's going to heat up in the summer when, everybody else is hurt and he's playing every day.
Right.
So that was great from the leadoff spot. Sure.
I think that a part of Rengifo's game is that he just needs consistent at bats. And I think we're seeing that now 2 years in a row. Speaking of being consistent, Randal Grichuk has been a pretty consistent player over the last few years. Johnny, he gets his first Angel home run, his 9th of the season.
14 years.
Yeah, 14 years. Crazy. And then Chad Wallach suddenly has the game of his life.
Let's go.
And hits a 441-foot home run. His massive home run happened in the 6th inning. And then we had that moment where you were talking about where Shohei comes up in the 9th inning and he's got 2 runners on. They have to pitch to him and he crushes a ball to center field. Unfortunately for the Angels, Harris is in center field.
Michael Harris is second.
Is in center field. And that guy leaps and very Trout-like takes the home run back.
Got to tip your cap.
It was a great play. And it was helpful for the Angels, though, because the runners did tag. And then, how about this? CJ Cron coming up and gets a hit. Johnny, not just any sort of hit. Not like a hit randomly. Johnny, it was a hit with runners in scoring position.
Oh, my gosh. Check your pulse, man, because, he was able to deliver that 4th run of the game, driving in Rengifo from that spot, or not Rengifo. Was it who did he drive in? Doesn't matter.
Cron,
somebody from third.
Yeah.
Cron was able to drive them in. And Mike, that was the thing. They still struggled with runners in scoring position. However, those home runs certainly helped.
Yep.
And for Cron to take that high fastball and just get level with it and hit it and drive in a run, that was fantastic to see. Mike, you have been preaching the word of Chase Silseth for a long time. Why don't you talk about his start in this one?
Yeah, so this was a surprise start. It sounded like the day before the game, he was made aware that he'll probably start because Griffin Canning didn't. He said he had general soreness. He didn't feel like he fully recovered from his last start. He is hopeful and not concerned. Doesn't think that this is going to be a major issue. Now, Canning did throw a lot of pitches in his last 2 starts.
Throwing his arm off, man.
Yeah, two starts prior, he threw 120 pitches, and then he threw over 90 pitches in his last start. And so I get maybe why they want to skip him, and maybe he needs some extra time. Totally understandable. But to have somebody like Chase Silseth come in, John, and step up like he did, the thing that made him successful last night, and here's his stats: 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 4 Ks. John, he threw a first pitch strike. Yes. How about that? First pitch strikes are always going to give you the advantage. And he did so good at making sure that he was going to hit a strike with his first pitch. And he was really hitting those strikes on the corners, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was throwing that fastball at like 96. And here's the thing about Silseth. The second and third time through the order is when he starts to get figured out a little bit. And when he was going through the order the second time is when he started surrendering a hit there and a hit there. And that's when Olson got the home run. But Mike, he was dotting the corners with his fastball on like 1 and 2 counts. He wasn't getting to 3 and 2.
Yeah.
It wasn't full counts every single time. Somebody tweeted at us and said, Detmers and Sandoval could take a page out of Chase Silseth's book about
no kidding,
finishing hitters with a strikeout.
Learn from the rookie.
That's exactly what Chase Silseth did. So fantastic outing. Mike, I got to say I was impressed with the bullpen in this one. And dare I say Phil Nevin's decision-making when it came to the bullpen, because Jose Soriano came in. He had 1 1/3 inning, came up big in the 6th inning, was able to get out of the bases loaded jam where they walked Matt Olson, by the way. It doesn't feel so good now, does it, Braves fans? And then Aaron Loup came in to finish that out, got clean innings, got 3 outs. Give it up for Aaron Loup again. I wasn't sure if it was worthy of the tweet that says, say nice things about Aaron Loup. But you know what?
We already did.
He did a great job in that one. And then, Mike, Reynaldo Lopez gets 5 outs. His first save as a Halo, he struck out 3. Hitting 101, man. It was crazy.
It was
took a drive on the freeway, the 101, baby, because that's what he was doing in this one. And I just said it yesterday with Estevez and Matt Moore going pretty deep and throwing a lot of pitches on Sunday. Now you have Lopez to be the other side of that coin, right?
Yep.
So just fantastic to see him go out there and get that. They pitched like a playoff team, Mike, and it was against a really difficult team in the Braves. So I don't want to hear about your big butts, because this was a team that the Angels
We don't like
had
them
to
much.
beat coming into August. What happened, Mike? I thought we were just supposed to not play these games
Right. We
against
should
the Braves and
wave the white flag. We
Yeah,
should
I
have
thought we were
sold. That's what we were
supposed to
supposed
go
to
home.
do, right?
That's what
Listen, I
everybody was
know
telling us.
it's just one game, and I get it. And that's the feedback we'll probably get. It's just one game.
It's just
guys.
one
You're
game.
right.
Well, but
You're right. It is just one game. You're right. And we're taking it one game at a time.
Yep.
And what's
Always
great
have,
about
always
this team?
will.
What's great about this team is that they're 5-2 on this road trip. They're 2-2 against the Braves and the Blue Jays currently. Johnny, here's the really interesting record. They are 12-11 in July after starting the month losing 8 of 10.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And when you think about all the injuries that happened prior to the All-Star break, and then they come out and, they played some tough teams in the Astros. They played some easy teams that they were supposed to beat, but they swept the Yankees.
Yep.
They swept the Tigers. So you see how those wins stack up. And you can think about the distributive property, Mike. If you go back to your 7th grade math class or whatever, you think about the fact that, they lost 2 games against the Blue Jays, but they did win 3 against the Tigers. So if you move one of those wins over to the Blue Jays series, you've got a quote unquote series win in both of those. So just it evens out at the end of the day, because I believe you were the one who said the Angels would need a really good stretch of winning all the series from here on out, and they would pile on the wins.
Yeah.
Obviously that's not going to happen, but it is good to know that they're stacking up wins wherever they can. So as it stands right now, they are 56-51, 4.5 games back in the AL West, 3 back in the wild card. Hold it up proudly. 3, baby. Mike, again, the Angels are back at it against the Braves at 4:20 Pacific time. It's going to be Patrick Sandoval versus Spencer Strider. The only one pitcher I think I'm really worried about in this series. However, he has been getting hit hard lately. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels. And coming up on Locked On Angels, it is deadline day. So if the Angels are going to make more moves, maybe they have in the time that you're getting to this video, what moves should they make? We'll talk about all of that coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by the Game Time app. With the Game Time app, buying tickets is fast and easy. They've got deals on tickets right up until the day of the event. And the Game Time guarantee means that you'll always get the best price and event cancellation protection. On the Game Time app, you can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, literally 2 taps, and you're set. You can see the images of your seats before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. But if you're an Angel fan, you already know what.
You already know where you're sitting. Hey, listen, my buddy Steven is a big Giants fan. He grew up in the Bay Area, and he said, hey, let's go to Angels Giants at the Big A on Monday. And so he sent me some seats from Game Time. I told him to use Game Time, use our promo code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. And he sent me some seats, and I said, we can do better than that. So now we're going to sit behind the bullpen and at a great price, Mike. And he's going to use the promo code Locked On MLB for $20 off his first time using Game Time app. And you can do the same thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just download the Game Time app right now, create an account, and then use our code Locked On MLB, $20 off your first purchase. There are some terms that do apply. Again, create an account, use our code Locked On MLB for $20 off our first purchase. Didn't he know who he was going with? He should have asked you first, right? Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Locked On Everydayers, join us today, 4:30 Pacific time on Bleacher Report. You can go to the website. You can download the app and watch it there. Mike and I are going to be doing a post-trade deadline live stream, and we want you to be there as well to jump in our comments, jump in the conversation. Again, let's show up and show out and show everybody why we love talking Angels baseball every single day of the work week. So again, 4:30 Pacific time on Bleacher Report or in the Bleacher Report app. Hey, the Angels are back at it against the Braves today at 4:20 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels.
With the trade deadline today, Johnny, the Angels have really made some major moves, and it wasn't just recently, although the recent trades were great, but let's take them back just a few weeks. We got Escobar, we got Mike Moustakas. Now, I think Moustakas has actually probably been one of the best trades that Perry Manassian has pulled off.
Definitely.
Because he's really been great for us offensively and defensively, and not just at third base, but at first base. I mean, the guy has been incredible. And then Escobar being a guy that can actually play all over the infield and then has a bat from the left and from the right. I think he's a great guy off the bench. And then making those trades for Giolito and Lopez, we're already seeing the benefit. And Giolito is supposed to pitch in this series against the Braves. I believe that's tomorrow's game. And so that's exciting. And then Lopez, of course, having the 5-out save and being like a second closer for us is
throwing 101.
I love that. and then what I loved is that Perry didn't just stand pat. He actually went and got some more hitters. And so we do have Randal Grichuk, who I think is a great replacement for Taylor Ward. They're about kind of equal. I think Grichuk's better in the outfield, obviously.
Definitely.
And then you've got a guy like CJ Cron, who in last night's game, Zach Neto uncharacteristically threw a ball in the dirt towards first base. And Cron picked it like he was Jared Walsh. Like he looked fantastic over there. Jared Walsh. And so it was great to have these guys on the team. The Angels have really filled the holes nicely. Now, if we could just stop getting hurt and get healthy, that would be even better. But the big question is, Johnny, what else do the Angels need? And do you think that they'll actually go and fill those needs before the trade deadline?
I could see them getting another bullpen piece. I'm still ringing the horn of Carlos Hernandez. I think he would be great as a setup guy in the back end of the bullpen. Maybe you have Matt Moore and Estevez one night, and then you have Carlos Hernandez and Reynaldo Lopez another night. You really got to shore up this bullpen. And then, Mike, I know he's still hurt, and I know that we're kind of hanging our hope on him coming back. But Ben Joyce still throwing that heat that he throws, I think is also a great addition to this bullpen. I think about starting pitching, and I know Montgomery is in Texas. Max Scherzer went to Texas. They just lost Nate Eovaldi, by the way, to some forearm strain. So who knows how long that will be an issue for him, but that's something to keep an eye on. And they also lost Jonah Heim behind the dish. And so there's a real chance to leapfrog here. There's a real chance to get ahead of some of these teams. I want to say starting pitching. I still think they need another starter. I know we have Ohtani and Giolito, and then you can take your pick of, one of the four guys who slots in behind them in a hypothetical playoff series. But, now that Montgomery is gone, and now that, I never really thought about Scherzer or even Verlander. I know he's still out there, but I hadn't really considered those guys just because of the cost involved. But Steve Cohen has proved that he'll pay some of that salary down if it means getting a better prospect in return. But I'm still ringing the bell for Carlos Hernandez from the Royals. I think as a starting pitcher, I think he makes sense. Mike, maybe Eduardo Rodriguez from the Tigers. I know that Baltimore, as of this recording, was in talks for both Rodriguez and Michael Lorenzen to come over and pitch for them. So we'll see what happens there. Marcus Stroman has not had a great few weeks since we last talked about him, so I'm not quite sure about that. I don't see Snell going anywhere, and I'm trying to think if there's any other starters out there. But what are your thoughts here on who the Angels should add?
Johnny, I would love to see another starter. I think the bullpen with the guys coming back and with Lopez in the bullpen, I think that we're at a place now where I'm really comfortable. And then with Davinsky coming back, he pitched last night and went an inning, struck out 3. And so I think that the bullpen, I hate to say, is good because I don't want to jinx it.
It can be better, right?
Yes, it can always be better. I think I would love to see a starter. Now, if Tyler Anderson pitches like he did in his last start, then I think that maybe I would be a bit more comfortable. But right now, I'm just kind of not comfortable with Sandoval, Detmers, or Anderson currently. I'm more comfortable with Silseth than I am with any of those other guys. You mentioned something that I think needs to be brought up. You mentioned prospects and like what would be the cost to go get like Verlander. And I've noticed that some of the narrative out there is that, man, we're really kind of like getting rid of everybody to really help this team get to the playoffs. I mean, we talked about these names on yesterday's show, guys like Kai Busch and Landon Marceau and Jansen Junk and those guys we traded earlier this year. And I know that a lot of people are like, man, we're really just like dumping the farm and it's really going to hurt our rankings and the potential of these guys coming up. Johnny, quite honestly, I feel the opposite about that. And here's why. The rankings have said that our minor leagues have been terrible. And yet on the major league roster right now are Neto, Bachman, Joyce, and Soriano, who were in the minor leagues, right? And so I just think that we have to be very cautious about those rankings and where we land. And also, quite honestly, and I think it was Baseball trade value, or that website where they do the trades, they actually tweeted out about how they have a system and how they measure things. And then somebody actually tweeted, I think it was a Ken Rosenthal article that said every team has their own measurements. And so I think that what we see ranked 29th is probably not how the rest of the league sees our minor leagues. And it's obvious that if we can trade away somebody like a Kai Busch and get a Lucas Giolito and a Lopez, like I think that maybe our minor league guys are actually valued higher than what maybe the scouts are saying.
That's the thing is for Kai Busch to be traded for Lucas Giolito and Reynaldo Lopez. I know that he wasn't the only one. It was Edgar Caro as well. Somebody out there somewhere values our prospects.
Yeah.
And they value the individual person, right? That it's not, you can take all these ratings from Keith Law and Baseball Prospectus and Baseball Today, all that stuff. And of course you can take those into consideration on where teams rank. But at the end of the day, when you get down to the individual player, really like anybody's going to jump at the chance to have a pitcher that they're really excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, Lindsey Crosby said, if the Rays call you for a specific pitcher, you get on the phone with your best people and say, why do the Rays want this guy?
Yes, right.
And that's exactly what, to your point about that Athletic article, the Rays are able to identify things that certain teams can't identify in their own players, and then they can come out and make them a stud, right?
Yep.
So all of that to say, there's always going to be value in your minor league system, whether you're first or whether you're 30th, right? It doesn't matter where the team ranks. When it comes down to individual players, they're going to earn some cachet among the league with front offices. Mike, Jared Walsh was drafted in the 36th round, and he was an all-star in 2021. And I contend that he would still be here if he wasn't dealing with long COVID and neurological stuff. I would contend that if that didn't happen to him, he'd still be playing first base and he'd still be doing a great job, right? So it just goes to show that you're not always going to have these like flashy prospects that are going to give you these huge deals. Now, very rarely do you have a Mike Trout, or very rarely do you have like a Jackson Holiday where it's like, oh, that guy's going to be a stud. And so again, at the end of the day, I'm not worried about future rankings. Mike, they just completed a draft and they're probably really excited about the players that they just brought in. And so that gave them the ability to move on from some of the guys that they were previously excited about.
Finally on the show, we're going to talk about what everybody's talking about, and that is how the Angels are struggling with runners in scoring position. Johnny, I need your feedback.
Hey.
I think I figured out why they're struggling with runners in scoring position.
Hit me.
And I think everybody knows this. They're struggling because of one stat, and that is strikeouts. They are striking out way too much. In fact, they are 12th in the American League out of 15 teams in Ks. They're in the bottom half of that department. And then this last weekend against the Jays, they struck out 38 times, Johnny, all weekend long. They're not making contact. And I think the strikeouts actually really impact what they do with runners in scoring position. So hear me out. Contact, even if it's just a weak ground ball somewhere, it moves runners. It forces the infield and potentially the outfield to move. It can cause potential errors. It can cause potential opportunities, and not making contact doesn't move the runners. And right now for the Angels, it's been a walk when they've had runners in scoring position. It's been a strikeout when they've had runners in scoring position. In fact, even for Shohei Ohtani, it's been that way. 61% of his ABs have concluded with a home run, a walk, or a K in the month of July. What's that?
The three true outcomes of baseball.
Exactly.
Home run, walk, or strikeout.
I just think that it's the strikeout that's going to get in the way. And I remember young rookie Dallas McPherson when he first came up and was striking out.
You just upset a lot of people by bringing up that name.
Well, he was striking out a lot, right? And he was just not making contact. And there was an argument about like, well, an out's an out. Well, actually, it's not, because if you make contact, you can move runners over. Rengifo did that last night, move some runners over. We saw Shohei, when he got his home run robbed, move some runners over.
Yes.
And I think that that's why they were successful. So, Johnny, what do you think about my theory that this is why they're struggling, because they're striking out too much?
Do you want me to do your line? Should I say it?
Oh, please.
Are you going to yell? I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to yell at you. That hurt my feelings. Mike, they basically, okay, so for example, last night, I know it's Neto's first game back, and I will never say anything bad about Zach Neto because of what he brings to the table. And I know Mama Neto is listening. So, but I will say this, there was a moment where he had runners on and he took a big old hack, Mike, and it was a strikeout.
Yeah.
And I think what needs to happen here is the Angels need to read the room a little bit better. They need to understand that, like, hey, I just need to focus on putting the bat to the ball. I don't need to crush it. I don't need to swing for the fences. I just need to make contact here and get a productive out. That's the key thing. Because when you think about like Shohei Ohtani, he hit that fly ball and Michael Harris caught it. It was a productive out because the runners were able to move up. And then CJ Cron drove in that runner from third, who I still can't remember who it was. But if they have a better approach at the plate, they look middle.
It was Velasquez. He pinch ran.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
See, exactly what he should be doing. Running, not swinging the bat. They need a better approach. They need to look middle in the strike zone. They do that, and it helps to not chase at anything out and away. You see Hunter Renfroe doing that a lot. Mike, I'll say that his big home run on Sunday was kind of lucky. It was a slider away, and he reached for that baby, and he's strong to where he was able to pull it. I even looked at the stats for hitting opposite field, Mike, and the Angels are actually right in line with league average, about 18% hits going the opposite way, which I thought was key to this whole conversation about runners in scoring position. But they're right there at league average with everybody else. Even the Braves are sitting at league average. They're actually a little bit worse than the Angels at hitting the opposite way. But I thought maybe that would be key to hitting with runners in scoring position. But here's the thing. When you have off-speed pitches, a lot of them are going to start in the zone and drift out of the zone to the left or to the right. You got a splitter, starts in the zone, and it's going to fall out. I understand it's one thing to see that pitch out of the pitcher's hand. It's another to recognize it and go, that's a slider, I'm not swinging, right? Yeah. Because oftentimes that thing's going to drift outside the strike zone. So if the Angels could just change their approach and not swing at those off-speed pitches as often as they have been doing and striking out, I think they're going to see a lot more success to take the walk and trust their gut and trust their eyes that, oh, that's a slider. I should lay off that one. And this weekend, while, we were watching the game, I remember you telling me that you said it out loud. There was an off-speed pitch coming and it's going to be low. And it was, and the batter swung, and it was just so obvious that was going to be the outcome. So again, if the Angels could just make a contact-first approach at the plate, it's going to help them be successful in moving runners over, driving in that run. You don't got to swing for the fences every time. Think single. Think one run at a time. I hear Gooby say it all the time. Think one run at a time, because as you saw in this game against the Braves, the Angels earned singular runs all throughout the game, and those single runs stacked up to make it 4-1. I think if they take that approach into the next month, they're going to have a lot of success.
It's easy to hit on my couch. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Remember, we are on Bleacher Report today at 4:30 Pacific time, and the Angels actually play at 4:20 against the Braves, so you can jump on Bleacher and listen to us and watch us while you're watching the game. And if you need a place to watch the game or at least listen to the game, go to SiriusXM on the SXM app to listen to the Angels hometown broadcast. All you got to do is search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you there. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We're almost to 6,000 subscribers. Thank you to all of you who are already subscribing. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
Well, of course, we're going to be here for all of the recap from Game 2 against the Braves. We'll also be here with all the details if the Angels make any more trades. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
I'm checking my phone before we call it.
Just in case.
There's nothing, no news yet. So hopefully something changes. If this gets outdated by the time you're watching it, that's baseball.
We'll be happy about that.
All right, friends. Until tomorrow's show, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
I found a way to get Bonds and Griffey, and we don't have to give up too much. And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
What a Seinfeld reference before the end of the show. Thanks for being here, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow, and we'll also see you on Bleacher Report, 4:30 Pacific time. Join us there.